Hello, I am Game Master Don, and today we're building some travel maps for one of my upcoming Gen Con one-shots. So I've got 3 of these one-shots to prep for before the convention, and man, my flight is too long, and there are 2 layovers along the whole process. So out of an abundance of caution, I want to make sure that all of my maps fit inside one carry-on bag without getting damaged in transit. Now, if you happen to be one of my players who signed up for Beasts in the Tall Grass, you should probably tune out right now because you're going to want to avoid spoilers. And this video is going to be a lot of spoilers about that. Now, to ensure my maps travel well, I am planning on using one of my favorite mediums for creating tabletop gaming maps and terrain, which is cardboard. Cardboard resists wrinkles, it doesn't bend on its own, it's very sturdy, but it's also very light and easy to carry around. It's so easy to just pick it up, move it around the board. You can spin it around in a circle. It's really particularly good for vehicles. Put all your people on top, move them, slide them around all over the place. And generally, it's totally free. Like, I always find it laying around in the recycle area of the apartment complex I live in because no one ever recycles or breaks down any of their Amazon boxes. So, totally free. Now, I'm going to start this map building project with my game Beasts in the Tall Grass. Now, this is a cyberpunk meets Predator meets Pokemon style adventure utilizing Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition. It's set on a big, hot, grassy savanna landscape with thick, 40-foot tall grass. And our heroes are high-paid cybernetic merc squad tasked with capturing a giant alien monster for a good old-fashioned interstellar war profiteer company. You know, you could think Wayland Yutani from Aliens. Once our heroes airdrop onto the planet's surface, these monster hunters have to navigate the landscape by leaping between trees and large boulders so they don't get bogged down in the difficult terrain of the tall grass. Now, for this game, we'll have a small whiteboard to draw the full area map on. So everyone will have kind of a point by point by point area on the map that they can follow while they're rolling tracking checks and making navigation rolls and generally doing a bit of that ranger hunting, sniffing trails, finding tracks, that sort of thing. Along the way, they're going to encounter small fodder creatures, and I'll have all these terrain tiles that I can toss down every time they encounter something. Now, because Mutants and Masterminds has so much extreme powers, a lot of these fodder encounters can be resolved very quickly. So it's going to be great to have all of these tiles I can toss down right quick. I don't need to get too precious about where they are or how many I have on the board at any given time. And then in the back half of the session, they'll finally encounter their target, and the final showdown will pop off and close out the session with a big, giant monster hunting capture-a-thon. For this map, so I've designed giant boulders that have nice flat areas on them that clearly illustrate where someone can get a good foothold and which parts of the rocks slope down into the grass and get you trapped in that difficult terrain. Then I've got these old trees that I made for a previous adventure, and they've got like a nice root shape around them. And they're small enough I can pepper them all over the map, you know, around the rocks and around the other different type of terrain I've got going on. Now, these will be great for leaping about, gaining high ground, but I don't really want to draw out all the branches on these trees that folk will be hopping and standing onto because it'll just clutter up the board too much if I'm putting giant, spider webby looking things of trees onto the board. So we'll just leave them as is and we can just theater of the mind the branches. Like, you know, it doesn't really matter if they're. Now, we're not going to draw any more of these standing trees because I have way too many. But we do want more than just rocks on the ground. So I'm thinking we're going to do a handful of fallen trees, big logs that people can run across or dive behind for cover once they start getting into some serious fights. I also feel like we ought to have watering holes and ponds of some kind as well. Here I put some lily pads in there, and I added little water ripples along the edge just to sell it a little bit. It doesn't have to be too detailed or exact, just a quick glance so people know this is a watering hole. And the best move, I think, is to put these watering holes right onto the back of the rocks, which will capitalize on this whole economy of scale, travel ease operation that I'm trying to do for this trip. This setup will work great overall for this high speed monster hunting at a swift pace style session that I want to do. The cardboard's so easy to toss around, it settles on the table really nice. And overall, I think it's going to be a blast. So that's it for episode 1 of Gen Con Map Prep. Drop a like, subscribe, maybe comment a bit about your own favorite handicraft map solutions for travel across town or even across country. See you again in the next one.